I'd like to welcome everyone to the second of two 2012 Kiowa County Town Hall debates, sponsored by the Kiowa County Signal newspaper and the Kiowa County Chamber of Commerce.
Hi everybody, I'm Patrick Clement. I am the editor of the Kiowa County Signal, and tonight I'm joined by Kiowa County Chamber of Commerce representative and Haviland business owner Gene Jones, and I just want to welcome everybody for coming. I'd like to introduce our candidates. So the candidates for the District 2 County Commissioner are Mr. Gene West, Mr. Bert Lowry, and Mrs. Bonnie Kuhn. And the candidates for District 3 County Commissioner are Mr. Ron Freeman and Mr. Earl Liggett.
Just a reminder to the candidates and audience of the format. Candidates will be allowed a brief opening statement. One of the moderators will ask a question to the entire panel, to all of the candidates for a single office, or to an individual candidate. Opposing candidates will be allowed rebuttals.
And a moderator will politely notify any of the candidates who exceed their allotted time, so please watch us for subtle signs. The moderator will ask the questions submitted by county voters, by the Chamber of Commerce, and by the Signal until the debate is complete. And candidates will be allowed a brief closing statement. We're going to ask the audience to please be respectful and to save your applause until the end. Candidates, this is just a reminder that our purpose here tonight is to discuss important county issues and policies. Please do your best to adhere to the tenets of civilized discourse. Thank you for attending, and good luck, everybody. So we will have our opening statements, and we will begin with Mr. Freeman.
Now it's on, I guess. Good evening to all of you. Glad to see you all come out for this debate. This is the first one I've been involved in, and I'll do my best to keep you interested. I think first of all, I'll probably give you a little bit of my background that some of you don't know it. I came here 30 years ago, April the 1st, as the manager of the co-op over at Mullinville. I was manager there for 18 years and retired in 2000. They give me a total of 36 years working for local cooperatives. After retiring, I did some interim work for some of the local co-ops around, and then I worked for a local farmer for off and on for a number of years. I think it was about May of 2008, I was approached by, I guess they's my friends, down at the cafe about running for commissioner. Anyway, I said I didn't know anything about that, and they approached me 2 or 3 times more, and I finally said, well, I'd try it. So anyway, I was elected and started January the 12th of 09. This is my 4th year. Today it's been a learning experience. I think I've learned quite a little bit. Most of it's been a good experience. There's been some moments that I just soon not been involved in, but so far it's worked pretty good. I hope I've done you folks a good job, my constituents over in the 3rd District, and they see fit to elect me for another term. That's all I have to say.
My name is Earl Liggett, and I've never been one to known to not speak my mind. I had thoroughly intended to do that, but the moderators told me I'm limited to 3 minutes, so you may be spared some of this. I am a candidate for the County Commissioner, 3rd District. I am a native of Kiowa County, having been born and raised on a farm just west of Mullinville. Part of my formative years was during the Great Depression. We soon learned the value of a dollar. Those lessons and values I learned those many years ago have sustained me throughout my lifetime. Shortly after my graduation from high school, the United States entered into the Korean War. I heeded the call of my country and enlisted. I've always been proud to state that I am a veteran of that war. After living in California for nearly 30 years, my wife and I decided to pursue our dream of those many years and return to California. Now, like many before us and after, we invested considerably in Kiowa County. And that dream, as well as the dreams of many others in this county, I believe has put in been put in jeopardy. It has been put in jeopardy because of the tax and spend policies, I believe, of our local governments. I have served for 8 years previously on the commission, both before and after the tornado. My position as a strong conservative is well documented and without question. You know what? I think I'm going to leave it there because my whole speech was 7 minutes long, and if I can't do it all, I'm not going to do the rest of it. Thank you.
My name is Bert Lowry. I moved to Kiowa County in 1976. I'm not a native, but I don't guess you're never a native unless you're born here. But I'm running for county commissioner, and I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. You know, everything you get, there's hard decisions to make. It's hard decisions to make in everyday living, everyday business. I've been a stockman, I've been a farmer, I've been a custom harvester, and I'm a contractor now, cement contractor. And you know, I'm going to work for the people of Kiowa County, and I'm going to see. I'm not saying that the county hadn't got to spend money. It costs money to do anything anymore, and a lot of money. But I'm going to be very close with the county's money, and I feel like any county that gets, we know this is the first place your tax money is spent, is the county commissioners. I mean, and you can look forward from that and see it's a lot of wasted money. But you know, I'll be a citizens commissioner, and I'll look out for Kiowa County. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. I'm Bonnie Kuhn, Democratic candidate for Kiowa County Commissioner, District Number 2. I was not born or raised in Kiowa County. However, I have lived on a cattle ranch 10 miles south of Greensburg for 27 years. I came to western Kansas with my late husband, Jack Kuhn, 31 years ago, and our 3 children, Nate, Buster, and Amy. Jack was born in Greensburg, and his mother, Lorraine Pyle Kuhn, grew up south of Haviland, where her parents homesteaded. And of course, our roots run deep, and we've raised our 3 kids here. They've purchased the ranch where my sons and I live. I was born in Kansas City, Kansas, Wyandotte County. I was raised there, graduated from Washington High School and Kansas State University with a Bachelor of Science degree in home economics. Since I graduated from college, I've been involved in finance. Retailing, agriculture, bookkeeping, accounting, and 20 years in banking. Cash flows, spreadsheets, balance sheets, budgets, everything has been a part of my life for the last 31 years at home and at work. I am capable of doing the job of Kiowa County Commissioner. As a commissioner, I will communicate with the taxpayers, and hopefully together we can do what's right for Kiowa County. Thank you.
Well, I'm Gene West, and I'm running for County Commissioner from District 2. I was born and raised in Kiowa County, attended Greensburg schools. I graduated from K-State with a business degree. On August 3rd, 1968, I married my wife, so this is my 44th wedding anniversary. We raised 3 children. We have 6 grandchildren, some of which live here in our 6th generation now, Kiowa County. I hesitate to say what I do, but I'm a farmer. I'm a member of the First United Methodist Church. I've been on many boards. Farm Service Agency, County Board. I've been on Extension Board. I currently serve on the Soil Conservation Service Board. I was county commissioner from 2006 through 2010. And so all the decisions that went into that, I had a hand in. My belief is that this county needs to continue to progress. We have a county that's set up to have 5,000 or 6,000 people in it, and we have maybe 2,600. If we want to be here 30 years from now, we've got to get busy, we've got to have development, and we've got to move ahead. If you're not moving ahead, I guarantee you, you're going backwards. And so that's the reason I'm running. I want something for my grandchildren to come here and to be able to have good jobs and have a good quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a question for the entire panel submitted by the Signal. We will begin with Mr. Freeman. Is the county as a financial entity heading in the right direction?
Well, I can't help but think that it is. Our valuation continues to go up. One thing that makes me feel like it's probably at least getting worth more as time progresses. This keeps us from raising the mill levy so much. But there's still a lot of work to do. Getting business in the county or something like that is something that's got to be done, and I am don't have a clue as to how you do that. Money is about the only way to get economic development. Some way we got to raise some money to do that.
Well, personally, I do not believe that this county is headed in the right direction right now. We've just experienced the largest single tax increase in the history of our county. We have enormous debt. Counting the hospital debt of their 2 loans and the county's debt, we have in excess of $3 million in debt. Of that $3 million, last year, the county paid a staggering sum of $54,000 on the principal. We're going backwards, or spinning our wheels, because the interest keeps piling up. We have some bonds that there has been no principal paid since they were issued. So I believe that the county needs to reverse its course, and the thing that I would say is that we need to stop spending money we don't have. Thank you.
I think the county's moving forward. We're not moving backwards. But I will say, I think it's places we can improve as we move forward. Because, you know, we may be spending, it costs money to run anything. I mean, and we can't sit back and say, hey, we're not going to spend nothing. We've got to spend our money wisely.
I agree with Bert. I think our county is moving forward. I think we've come a long ways, and our numbers are down. I think there are a lot of young people that have moved back to the county, and I'm encouraged by that. We do have debt. We also have income coming, you know, through the wind farm and other things, and hopefully our debt will be serviced, and we can get people to move here. I also agree with Ron. We need to move forward.
I too think that we're moving forward. As far as the debt, the county debt is about $1.3 million, of which the budget that the commissioners are passing for this next year eliminates not quite half of it. And so I would guess that within 4 years, the GO bonds can be completely paid off, and you could probably put $1 million into the general fund. And that's just in the 4 years of the pilot payments from the wind farm. As far as the hospital goes, that's revenue bonds. And those are paid through revenue from the hospital. And it's my understanding that the county itself has no obligation for those bonds. If those bonds aren't paid, the hospital will be sold and somebody else will take it and run it. Now that's the information that I have. So you can say we're in debt. Yeah, we are, but I think within 4 years, the GO bonds will be gone. Thank you.
Mr. Freeman, as the only incumbent, you do have an opportunity to respond. Do you have anything to add to that discussion? Okay. Okay. So the next question is for the District 2 candidates submitted by a voter, and we'll begin with Mr. Lowry. How will you serve the people of Greensburg as a commissioner?
I'll serve the people of Greensburg just like I will, the people in Haviland. I'm going to be their candidate, and I'll listen. We'll work. The county's going. Everybody has to work to make the county work, and I'm not. If I'll talk to the people, I'll get the ideas, and we'll move forward because look at our school down here. We've got one of the best schools in the state. Look how it's growing. And that's a sign of growth. That's a sign of moving forward right there. I don't care. That's the number one thing in a town is your school, and we've got a good school and good faculty. And, like I say, I'll work with the people and work with the county employees themselves because, I've got a background in construction, road construction and stuff. I know a lot about the roads and stuff. Well, I've done that work for 15 years before I moved to Kansas, but I'll be a people's candidate. I can tell you that. I'll have an open ear to the people in the county, not just Greensburg by itself. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said Bert. Okay. I believe in communication. I'm a good listener. I look forward to hearing the people's, the taxpayers' opinions, their ideas, and hopefully we can work together to do what's right for Kiowa County.
As far as working for Greensburg, I think all people that are going to be commissioners need to work for the entire county. But concerning Greensburg, if I'm elected, I'm the Greensburg district representative. And I guess the best way that we could work with Greensburg is by working with the city government in cooperation on projects and trying to work together to figure out problems. And so for me, you try to do things that raise the entire county, but I would certainly be listening to the Greensburg people. I graduated from Greensburg. I've lived here all my life, so I think that goes without saying.
This is a question for the entire panel submitted by a voter. We will begin with Mr. Freeman. Would you support a must-use local labor policy for county projects?
Question.
Would you support a must-use local labor policy for county projects?
You're saying that any employees of the county should live in the county. Is that what they're referring to?
Labor.
Local labor.
So on projects, so I would assume that the question was, oh, sorry, I'll answer that one. Was if there's a construction project, would you support a policy that you would hire those firms and those construction from businesses inside the county only? I believe that was the voter's intent of that question.
Well, yeah, I would support that, but I'd be very surprised if that would work. I'm not sure we'd have that, depending on the size of the project, whether we have that many laborers in the county to take care of it until we get some more population built up.
It's for the entire panel. Go ahead, Mr. Liggett.
When I was on the commission before, it was always our policy to hire local help and contractors first. But like Ron said, oftentimes they weren't available, and we had to go out of town to do that. I will still support that policy of using the hometown people first.
This question probably comes to me better than it does the other candidates. I'm a local contractor. I've worked for the county. I've done several projects for the county. And I want to clear this up. Anytime my company is involved in a bid with the county, I will not be in any part of it. I'll abstain from voting. I'll let the other commissioners make that decision. But now I still think that a local contractor needs to be competitive. I'm not saying, you know, I think the county policy is 5% over, and you can, a local can get it. And I agree with that. I mean, and I'm a contractor myself. If I can't do the work cheaper than somebody out of town, they need to come into town. But I'd like to have a chance to bid on it. That's all I ask. And any other local contractor be the same way. If you don't get that, if I get a chance and doesn't bid right, fine. Let somebody. That doesn't bother me a bit. But if I don't get the opportunity, then that's another thing. But that's the way I feel, and I will not be involved in anything that my company is, because that was one factor that I found out before I decided to run for a commissioner, that if I wasn't going to jeopardize my business, because I've done several good jobs for the county and expect to do more. But that's my feeling, and that's the way I'll stick to that. I won't have any part of voting on anything that my company is involved in.
Well, I agree. I think definitely you want to keep the local workers busy and keep it here in the county, if at all possible. I also think it has to be competitive, and they have to be able to do the job. But you know, idealistically, it would be great to keep it all right here.
Well, since I'm last, I get to echo everybody else. It would be great if we had the people here for every time we have to go out to bid to use local people. But that's probably not going to be the case. And so right now, you know, they give 5%, and I think that's a good deal. I think that when bids go out, local people need to see those bid notices in the paper or wherever else they are and bid. Nobody's holding them back.
Thank you. The next question is a question for Mr. Liggett, submitted by a voter. Mr. Liggett, some voters feel that your filing as a Democrat was a political maneuver over policy to be on the general election ballot. Mr. Liggett, are you a Democrat?
What's in the name? Democrat, Republican, Independent. It's just different names with different philosophies. Just because you join a certain political party doesn't mean you subscribe to their philosophies. Now, the reason that I switched parties and filed as a Democrat is because if both of the candidates for that positions are Republican, we have a closed primary system in Kansas, and the Democrats wouldn't have a chance to vote for the man of their choice. This way, if we go to the fall election, Ron is a Republican and I'll file as a Democrat, the Democrats will have a chance that they haven't had in a long, long time to vote for a Democrat county commissioner. So that is why I switched parties. I have quite a few family members that are Democrats. So that was my reason for changing, so everybody in the county will have a voice in who their next county commissioner is.
Mr. Freeman, would you like to comment on that?
Well, my understanding in a general election, you don't have to vote either party. You can vote whichever one you want to. Is that not correct?
I'm not sure. Okay.
No, I was referring to the primary. We have a closed primary here. So if you are a registered Democrat or Republican, you will get a Republican or Democratic ballot. and you can't vote for the people of the opposing party even though that's who you wanted. So that's why I changed.
Thank you. Mrs. Kuhn, just along those same lines, not exactly the same question, but as a Democrat, if you feel that you are a true Democrat, then what values, what Democrat-type values would you bring to the commission?
You know, I have always believed that you should vote for the candidate. Yes, I am a registered Democrat. My father was 94 years old and voted in the last election before he died, and he was a diehard Democrat. And we would have many conversations about voting for the candidate, for the person that you thought would do the best job. So, yes, I am a Democrat, but I feel that everyone should vote for the person that they think would do the best job.
Gene, you can respond if you'd like. Okay. Mr. Lowry, would you like to add anything to the discussion? This is a question for Mr. Freeman, submitted by the Signal. Mr. Freeman, in a decision that eventually was deemed unlawful, the current county commission denied a request for videotaping of county commission meetings. And my question would be, why did you make that decision?
Well, I made the decision originally because my understanding was that there was nothing illegal about that decision. We have since reversed that, but my main concern was I think when the camera's on that people are not as open with their statements and their thinking as versus not having a camera there. And that's the reason I made that motion, that we deny that. But it has been changed and they can put cameras in there.
When I was on the commission, we always had a tape recorder. We taped the meetings until one of the commissioners made a vote, and he expressed exactly what Ron expressed, that they didn't feel that they could be as open with the tape recorder going. I voted against that because there's always questions coming up, stuff that does not get in the official minutes. Did he say that or he didn't? When we had the tape recording, we could play it and we could find out. So I would be in favor of either taping, tape recorder, or videotaping all of the meetings, so there will be no doubt if there's any kind of discrepancy comes up.
Which was submitted in part by the Signal and in part by a voter. Mr. West, the Kiowa County Media Center, of which your wife is the president and which was conceived and funded under your appointment as a commissioner, has brought mixed feelings by county residents. How do you view the financial role of the county in the future of the media center?
Well, I always thought that when the media center first opened, and to me it first opened last November when it actually opened in the Commons, would take 4 to 5 years to actually become self-supporting, or at least mainly self-supporting. And so that would be my hope. I think it's making great strides. I think it's slowly starting. They still haven't got all the equipment in that's supposed to be coming, and some of that was hung up just because of problems with the contractor and getting things signed off with USDA. And in fact, I think that sign-off actually just took place within the last few weeks. So my belief is that the media center in the future will do tremendous good for the county. It's already moving in and going to be, I think, used as a classroom for the school this year for media center and videoing and that stuff. Some of the kids that have already been through that have gone to Hayes and say that they're way ahead of what even Hayes has to offer. I think there is just no limit to what the media center can do for this county, both in tourism, in income, and I'm a strong supporter of the media center for what it can be, and I hope will be.
I was at the commissioners meeting when they budgeted for the media center this last year, and they're still putting quite a bit of money in the media center. You know, they were told that they wouldn't be making money for the next 2 years for sure. You know, we got to get down to necessities instead of stuff that, you know, I'm not saying, look, I'm going to cut the deal completely off, but it's going to have to be. If it's not a necessity, Kiowa County don't need it right now. We need to reduce our debt and try to stay afloat, you know. And the media center, I think the school would benefit from it unbelievable, you know, if we put the media center, combine it into the school some way. I think that's the only way with it. It'll be a worthwhile deal for us.
I think the media center is progressive. It's a nice facility. It has wonderful things to offer, and I hope it works.
Gene, if you can hold for 1 minute. Mr. Freeman, is there anything that you wanted to add to that discussion?
Well, we've visited about the media center a number of times at the commissioners' meetings, and I'm under opinion there's going to have to be a decision made. If they don't become self-supporting within a couple of years, I'm certainly not going to be in favor of financing them any further. We have spent somewhat over $300,000 on the media center at this point, and that's a lot of taxpayer money. I would hope the thing will work, but we're going to just have to keep looking at it. Eventually, we're going to have to say no to this if it doesn't work.
Mr. Leggett?
Yeah, I agree with Ron and to Mr. Lowry here. I think we need to put first things first. Let's give them another shot at it. If they don't make it pay, then it has to go, because it is a lot of money that could be used for one instant paying down our debt. We have an enormous debt here in this county. We don't need to be taking on more. If they can't make it pay in the next year, I'd say we're going to have to take a hard look at it.
Mr. West?
My only comment here is that we're trying to move forward and trying to progress forward. And what I'm hearing here is a lot of let's slide back to before the tornado. Let's take the easy road. Let's not try to make any changes. Let's just set and settle. And when you set and settle, you're sliding downhill. And we can't do that. We have got to keep moving forward. The financial thing, within the next 4 years, we're not going to have that debt. It's going to be paid for. And the pilot payments from the wind farms are still going to be continuing to come in. I think people don't understand probably, but last year and this year were the toughest years after the tornado financially. We're starting the road up. We've weathered the main storm. And we just got to have faith and keep plugging away. We can't slide back.
This is a question for the entire panel submitted by a voter. We will begin with Mr. Liggett. Do you feel county employees in all departments should be required to live in the county?
Well, my first thought about that is, where in the world are they going to live? We do have a shortage of affordable housing here. We have people working at Dillon's, in the courthouse, all over town that either live in Greensburg, Mullinville, Kinsley, Coldwater, and Haviland. where are they going to live if they come here? I would prefer that they would live here. I would prefer that they all buy a house here and pay taxes and help pay part of their salary. But until we have the housing, affordable housing here, I'd say we let them live where they want to, as long as they can get to work.
Mr. Lowry.
You know, really, that's a hard question to put before the people that's working here. And like, you know, I know there's vacant houses in Haviland, there's vacant houses in Mullinville, but and you know, you got people that does certain jobs that's better in one that's hired for these jobs, and they live out of the county, and I agree with everybody else. I'd rather for them to live here, but I would think that they need to have a time schedule at least or something before you mandatory it, you know, right out of the deal. Because, yes, you know, every dollar they pay taxes in Comanche County, that's taxes, they're taking our tax money down there and pay their taxes down there. But, you know, that's a hard decision to make, that you're going to make the people do that. And, you know, I'd prefer it, but as far as me being dead set in it, I don't think I could be. You know, it's times we're going to have them employees, whether they live in the county or not.
And I agree. You know, idealistically, it would be great to have that requirement, but I don't think logically it can happen. Affordable housing, lots of reasons. You know, it's hard for people to relocate. It's costly. So hopefully it will all work out.
And I'm going to agree with both Bert and Bonnie. It's a good goal maybe, but at this time, I just don't see how it could possibly be feasible.
Mr. Freeman.
At the present time, I don't think it's possible. We can keep looking at it as the town grows over here, the county grows, maybe there'll be some housing available and stuff. But, you know, we start out with the county attorney lives outside of the county, and the candidate running against her will live outside the county too. So it would be awful hard to require our employees to live here when those people don't live in the county.
Question for the entire panel. And Mr. Freeman, I have a question for you that's separate, so I will come back to you. That's okay. I'm going to do the rest of the panel, and I will come back with a question for you, okay? And we'll begin with Mr. West. Mr. West and the rest of the panel, what kind of approach will you take to a county mill levy? And this is submitted by a voter. And would you pledge to lower the total levied taxes, not the mill levy itself, but the total levied taxes? And if yes or no, please explain why.
My personal belief on the mill levy is it should be held as steady as possible. As far as lowering the mill levy, I don't see that in the next 2 or 3 years. I think it's possible after that it could be lowered some. I think that there are county departments that could be cut some, and there are county departments who are going to have a tough time this next year, even with the increases they have. Road and Bridge, for instance. I think we have a lot of problems on our roads right now that's caused by oil field work, oil field trucks. And it's hard to keep up with those trucks and keep the roads up, and especially the asphalt roads. So you're asking me, I believe in keeping the mill levy steady as possible.
I didn't hear the question. I didn't understand it.
It's okay. I'll repeat it for you. What is your approach to the county mill levy? And would you pledge to lower the total levy taxes, not the mill levy itself, but the total levied taxes? Yes or no, and explain why, please.
Yes, I would. I think that is one of the tax policy in the county is probably the most misunderstood thing there is between mill levy and assessed evaluation. The mill levy generates money on the assessed evaluation. So if the mill levy goes up and the assessed evaluation goes up, as it did for 2013, it went up, I think, between $4 and $5 million. That'll be another source of revenue. So I think that if the assessed evaluation of the county goes up, the mill levy should be adjusted to reflect that increase in the assessed evaluation. And when I was on the commission, I was always in favor of keeping taxes low. I think when Harvey Elmer and Mr. Clark and myself were on the commission, that was one, I think, of the most best. Well, in fact, the state said we were the 4th best county in the state for being fiscal stable. And yet we lowered the mill levy. So I believe that we should adjust the mill levy to reflect the increase in any assessed evaluation.
Thank you. Mr. Lowry.
You know, I would say, yes, I'd like to do that, but, you know, mill levy this year was worth $88,000. Next year it's going to be worth $96,000. But then you know, that's a difference in what a mill levy is worth. And we've got some departments that can take a cut. We got some departments that's hard for me to cut a department. Some of them, you know, take our fire department for example. These guys put their life on the line to put a fire out, and am I going to sit on a board down there and say, hey, I'm going to cut that fire department this year $10,000 because they don't need that piece of equipment? And a man goes out there and gets hurt or killed, and he's volunteering that too. If you see the fires we've had in the county here the last month, they don't have no control over how many fires they fight. They get on a truck and go put it out. Because I had a home burned south of me last week, and I was looking at the fire pretty close to coming to me. It could have, I'm not going to say it could have got to me, but it could have got another couple of houses if the fire department didn't work. And it's going to take money to run the county. I mean, we know that. Everybody knows that. Everything is up. The fuel that the county uses, you know, the supplies, and you can't say, hey, we're not going to spend no more money next year than we did last year, and look at the difference in the expenses. So I'm going to try to make every tax dollar that we have, stretch it as far as possible. But I won't say that I won't, because it's departments that I couldn't cut back, but it's some we can now.
Well, I agree completely with Bert. I think everyone would like to see lower taxes. I mean, but I don't see anything else decreasing. The cost of living continues to go up. All the commodities continue to grow, increase. Like Bert said, fuel, everything that's used to operate the county continues to go up, and it would be hard to lower taxes when all that is happening.
So this is a question for Mr. Freeman, since you're the incumbent. This was also submitted by a voter. So Mr. Freeman, why have nearly all the county departments had an increase of expenditures, that's nearly all, over the past 2 years? For example, this year, the proposed budget includes a $700,000 increase in road and bridge. Would you comment on that, please?
Well, the road and bridge to me is pretty simple. If you've noticed what the oil price has done in recent times, they are headed down some, but our road tar cost is unbelievable what it used to be. We have a tremendous cost of trying to keep our blacktops up. It's even been brought up that there may be a necessity at some time or another to do away with some of the blacktops. And my gosh, I'd hate to do that. I don't know whether I can stand the guff I'll take over that. But these blacktops are unbelievably expensive to keep up. When them things was built back 50, 60 years ago, we had 24,000-pound trucks on them, and now we got, not supposed to be over 85, but I suspect there might be a few a little over that. and they're falling apart. And I think they'll continue to fall apart. That's one of the reasons. And another thing's inflation. Just like the sheriff's department. My guys, their fuel costs for their cars, stuff like that, just keeps raising every year. And it appears what the fuel prices going back up again. So I don't know, inflation's our biggest problem, and what you do about it, I don't know. My pledge to everybody is I'll try to be fiscally responsible, but at the same time, we have to fund the county operations. My gosh, we have let our road equipment, by buying used stuff over the years, that it's all old now, and now we're going to have to spend a bunch of money of replacing it. It's a vicious circle. But my policy is you've got to keep stuff where it'll work. When you need it, you got to have it there.
So this is actually a follow-up question, Mr. Liggett. I'll get to you in 1 second, please. We're going to begin with Mrs. Kuhn. A number of candidates mentioned where they thought they could find cuts, certain departments where they feel like they could find cuts. If you could briefly explain each candidate, and Mr. Freeman, you'll also have another opportunity as we go back around. Where can you find those cuts?
Well,
Sorry,
to be honest, I don't know. I really don't. So I will leave that answer to these other candidates.
Thank you.
Goes to me. It's hard to find cuts anywhere now, and that's the way it is. You know, I personally believe that we've probably got about all the law enforcement we can stand. Whether that means they should be cut, I'm not sure. You know, it's hard just to pick. I would say that the county attorney's office over the last few years has been paid way too much. And you know, some of the other departments in the courthouse could be cut a little, but not to the extent to where you would save enough money to cover what's the increase on the road and bridge is. And I would go back to the road and bridge. It's not only the fact that those trucks are bigger, it's that there are 5 times more of them than there ever were before. And that's tearing the county roads to shreds. And so I guess that's my comment.
Mr. Freeman.
Well, we always look for ways to cut some of the budgets, and I would say that the budget request, I've got the papers out in my vehicle, but there was probably at least 25% of them certainly didn't receive the budget they requested, considerably a bit less than they requested. I hope that they can make it through there. We get some complaints about it, but like I say, we have to try to cut somewhere.
I can see where we have departments that kind of overlap in duties. I think there are some that we could probably eliminate. But it is going to be a tough sell because, as we have all said, everything is much higher than it was a year ago, particularly in the 4 years since Ron took over and the 4 years I've been off the commission. I once introduced the theory of zero-based budgeting to the commission. It didn't fly, but I think it will work. And I think that's one thing that we will have to try is zero-based budgeting. We have to do something because everything, the fuel, the cost of paving the roads, everything goes up every year. And the commissioners have to meet that. And then they get the ire of the taxpayer. Well, those dang commissioners raised our taxes again. It's going to be tough. We didn't get in this position overnight. And we're certainly not going to get out of it overnight. We have some tough choices that we're going to have to make here in this county. There's only so much that we can put on the backs of the taxpayers. And of late, from the people I've talked to, they think they're at the limit now. So it's going to be a tough sell.
You know, like last week I heard one department head, it was the sheriff's department. He had the money to buy one new car. He bought 3 new cars. I mean, did he have too much money? I mean, you know, that's a lot of money just to buy 2 new vehicles, more than what he's budgeted for. You know, and I think the sheriff could get back in with the city and work with the city here. And I think that'd be a big advantage to the whole department and the city and the county. I mean, and you know, our emergency management, you know, we didn't have anybody down there before the tornado, but now we're up to our neck in emergency management. We department before the tornado had a garage down there. They got a building down there now. The upkeep, the utilities on that part of that building is more than half what their budget used to be. I mean, we can do some trimming. I mean, there's three in the weed department. I mean, and you know, there's a lot of slack during the wintertime, but those guys doesn't do much. Full-time secretary. I know the commissioners are working on a deal about that, but, you know, it's places we can trim some money. And, you know, like I say, we're going to have to spend money, but there's places we can save money too.
This is a question for the entire panel submitted by a voter. We will begin with Mrs. Kuhn. Do you feel the county should have one unified school district? Yes or no, and why?
I think that would be difficult. I think it would be hard for Haviland to lose what they have now. I think that we have a unified high school, and I think that's good. I mean, it's a wonderful facility, and it's great for the kids. But I would like to see Haviland be able to keep their school.
You know, that's not a county commissioner decision. That's school boards and the school district's decisions. And I don't think county commissioners have any say-so in it.
I don't know, that's kind of a touchy situation for me to give an answer on that. I believe I'll refrain.
I agree with Mr. West. You know, let the school board run the schools, let the county commissioners run the county. However, I will say one thing. You cannot blame people for not wanting their schools to go, because it's like the broken window theory. Once the school goes, there goes a community. So they want to hang on. But we have to be pragmatic about it. We have to look at the cost of maintaining 2 separate districts, 2 separate sets of management, 2 separate sets of maintaining the buildings and the utilities. So that's one thing we have to look at. But right now, I'm not so sure. I'm not going to, other than what I said, I'm not going to get into that mess.
You know, I agree that school is the last thing you want to see leave a town. And I'm not going to say as a county commissioner, I'm going to say what I'm saying. I'm saying that as a taxpayer. I'm going to leave that up to the Haviland School Board. Let them make that decision. You know, yes, I'd like to see it all have one big school, but, you know, I sympathize with those people in Haviland, and, you know, I like to see them keep their school as long as they can afford it, and that's what's going to make the decision, is when they can quit paying the bills over there, they'll have to do something, and that's a sad situation, but that's the American way. I mean, you either pay it or you don't, and that's the way I feel as a taxpayer, not as a commissioner.
Thanks. So that'll be the end of our questions, and now we're going to hear our closing statements. And we will begin with Mr. West, and we will actually end with Mr. Freeman.
Okay, well, I want to thank you, Patrick, and the Chamber, and seniors for letting us have this place for this debate. My whole thought here is that I will represent the Greensburg District. I will do it to the best of my ability, no matter what kind of time or hours it takes. I think that my service from 2006 through 2010 would show you what kind of commissioner I would be. And so I would ask for your vote come August the 7th, and we'll go from there.
Me next.
No, we're going to go just backwards. So
Backwards. Okay. All right. Well, I also want to thank Patrick and the Chamber and the effort they've put forth. And I think it's great, you know, that the county has shown this much interest and participation. Since I have not served as a county commissioner, I may not have all the answers to your questions. I do have a background in finance, and I am willing to learn and do the research required to make the decisions. As a commissioner, I will communicate with the taxpayers, and I hope that all of us together can do what's right for Kiowa County. I am competent and capable and ready to do the job as a Kiowa County Commissioner, and would appreciate your vote.
I want to thank you guys for putting this on, and everybody for showing up tonight. You know, and like I say, I don't have a college degree, but I've got on-the-job training. I mean, that's like I say, I run my business. And I'm running a business now, and we've been very lucky since the tornado. But you know, like I say, I'm going to be a candidate. I'll be a commissioner for the people, and I'll listen. And I want to see Kiowa County move forward, just as much as anybody, you know, here. And you know, like I say, I love the community. I'm not a native, but I've been here a long time. And I appreciate you vote Tuesday, and we're gonna. All us on this up here, we're going to be friends after Tuesday. I'll guarantee you. There's not nobody going to, you know, we're going to get along with everybody. And I thank all of you for coming out tonight.
Well, I too want to thank you for coming out, and also want to thank you for your patience in enduring this bloviating and rhetoric you've heard here tonight. That will soon pass away, but the one thing that will not pass away is your duty at the ballot box. Get out and vote, no matter how you vote. Remember this, it is a privilege that was bought and paid for you by millions of veterans who put it all on the line so you would have that privilege to vote. So do it in honor of those veterans who gave you that right. Go vote, but remember this, no matter how you vote, no matter how the county comes out, we're going to have to live with how you voted for quite a while. So my advice is you vote for the guy you want, but to go vote.
I would certainly agree with Earl on that statement. It'd be great for everybody to go vote, and I appreciate everybody that's here tonight. Appreciate Patrick and the Kiowa County Signal for putting on this debate. I do have some experience as a commissioner now, which I didn't have 4 years ago. I think I can do you a decent job. I won't promise you that I'll lower your taxes. I won't promise you I'll raise them. But I'll promise you I'll get all the information I can and make a good common sense decision on what I'm supposed to do. Thank you again.
Guys, can we get a round of applause for all our candidates? I'd want to thank the Senior Center for hosting us. Carrie and Mia did a great job, and thank you for letting us be here. The Kiowa County Media Center for making the debate available to voters who weren't able to be here, and there was a significant number of views on the previous debate, so I think that's wonderful that they do that for us. Thanks everybody for coming, and have a good night. Thanks.